Well, hello. How's everybody doing? Welcome to AF Branco Cartoons, Comically Incorrect. It's good to be here again. I just wanted to go over some of the cartoons, reach out to some of you guys. I want to hit the comment section, see if anybody's commenting yet. We do have a couple comments. Here we go, comments. So when the comments come in, I want to make sure everybody's here when they can be. A lot of things going on in the news today. Gives me a lot of material to work with. We're going to try to do this every Wednesday and maybe have a couple of guests on, some friends of mine. You all know Joe Dan Gorman. He does Intellectual Frog Legs. We're going to try to get him on maybe next week, Wednesday around 1 o'clock. So if you're not doing anything, or you just finished lunch, or you have some time to check out the podcast, be sure to do that. We'd love to have you. A couple of weeks ago, I was on with Devin Nunes, and that was a very interesting interview. If you want to check it out, you can go to Devin Nunes True Social or my True Social page at AF Branco and check it out, look it over. It kind of is involved. It's a very relaxed interview. You don't have to really, wasn't uptight at all. He just allowed me to speak. He asked me a few questions. I was glad to answer them. So if you're interested, you can go there and check it out. We do have a few howdy from John Nope. My cousin Victor's on. Good to see you, Victor. So anyway, Joe Dan, he's a very entertaining fellow, very funny. I enjoy him. We went down to a True Social event in Nashville last October, and my wife and I were going to rent a room there in Nashville, and he wouldn't have it, so we stayed at his place, and we got a good chance to speak and talk and have some good times. And for the weekend, it was a great event. Got to meet a lot of people and enjoyed myself. My wife enjoyed herself at John Rich's house called Mount Richmore. But today, I don't want to spend too long on this, but I just wanted to talk about some of the cartoons that have just come out and maybe discuss them, maybe put in your comments what you think of it. Some of them, you've probably seen the cartoons before or over the last few days, but this gives me a chance to focus on them, give you some ideas about why I decided to create them. Of course, my cartoons are always about trying to focus on something that I think is important, and a lot of people think those things are important. So let's start with the first one. Pop it up here. This is one I did a couple of days ago about how the Democrats are trying to scare people into coughing up more tax money to fight climate change. And I have not seen any evidence that any money that we're going to send the Democrats is going to fight climate change, if it's happening at all. There are a lot of scientists out there who believe it isn't happening, especially the way they say it's happening. We've had warmer periods, we've had colder periods, and it's just that the Democrats are trying to exploit it for control purposes, for money purposes, and to limit our freedoms. And this cartoon here, to me, explains that pretty well. Let me see if I'm seeing any comments on this. Florida enjoys your work. Thank you very much. That comes from John. Can't pronounce his name. Kagne. Canes. Sorry, John. Florida loves your work. Charlie, Pilot, Patricia Burdick. Just forced to buy electric cars. Force us to buy electric cars. That's true. They want to force us to buy electric cars so that they can limit where you can go and how you can go and when you can go. They can cut your electricity off at any time. And the other point that comes up with this is the more electric cars that you buy, the less gas you will buy. That will raise the price of gas or make it obsolete. A lot of gas stations won't be open because, this is the future I'm talking about. So uh, it's amazing what they're trying to do, and everything they do seems to limit your freedoms. And so we have to be vigilant and careful about that. Let's go on to the next cartoon. We have China here. Okay. Nightmare scenario coming true? Question mark. Leader of the free world, with free crossed out, and China sitting in the seat along with Putin behind him and Iran. And the U.S., Uncle Sam, is leaving with his box to the exit. And he says, "Thanks, Biden." And the box is full of transgender politics, solar panel, Green New Deal, equity, diversity, and inclusion. All the things that the United States seems to be focused on instead of applying it to our strength, our military, our diplomacy. Ronald Reagan is the one that probably coined the phrase the best, if at all, is that peace through strength is a very good policy. And Trump had that kind of philosophy, and it worked very well while he was in office. I titled this the Red New Deal as opposed to the Green New Deal. Let's go back to the comments. It's always a go-to thing for me. Enjoy your art and share it all the time. Well, I lost the name. Okay. Jim Hutchinson, spot on. Thank you, Jim. I'm scared to death of government controlled cryptocurrency. Yeah, very good point. That's from John Nope. Let's go up here a little bit more. Check out a couple of more. Wade Post, loved Antonio's work for years. Thank you, Wade. The idea behind me doing these cartoons is to, I started out, and I'll say it again, I've said it many times, is that when I started doing the cartoons, I was frustrated like a lot of you were, especially when Obama came into office and was trying to transform America with his health care and all the things that he was doing. It just seemed like, I had to get it out there. And at that time, there weren't a lot of cartoons covering that. Maybe there were, but I didn't see them. And Facebook was coming in, and a lot of social media like Twitter and all these avenues that you could post your things. And when I did, people seemed to enjoy them. They seemed to share them. And I felt like I was helping in my small little way of being able to get the message out there. So it's good to see that you guys are enjoying them and sharing them, because that's really one of the main reasons I do it. So we'll go on to the next cartoon. This one is called Selective Outrage, and it has to do somewhat with the shooting in Nashville. It seems like every time there's a school shooting, they go right after the gun. They don't look at mental illness. They don't look at all the other things. The other thing that they're trying to do, it seems like, is they're trying to make the shooter, in this case, the victim, sadly. And so they're not really addressing any problems. They have one mindset agenda, and that's to take people's guns away, to keep them defenseless. It seems like the more that they do to increase crime and protect criminals, the more they try to do to keep us from being able to protect ourselves from it. And that's the crux of it. So anyway, in this particular cartoon, Biden says, "I'm outraged. This is killing kids." And sadly. And then you have the hand coming out saying, "This is killing a lot more. Where's that outrage?" And fentanyl and Biden's open border disaster. It's just not fentanyl. It's the illegal immigrants that are coming through. many of them are dying. They're putting into childhood slavery. There's a lot of things to be outraged about. Not that I have I have a dog in the fight in this, in a sense. My daughter's 8 years old and she goes to school. She goes to elementary school, and I think about this every day. Some nutcase coming in and shooting up the school, and it concerns me that these schools aren't more secure. They have billions of dollars that they're sending over to Ukraine, but they can't afford to make sure, for a lot less money, to make sure that our schools are secure, that there's somebody there that in the event that somebody tries to get in, that they can be eliminated quickly before anybody gets hurt. Few as possible, anyway. That's my 2 cents on it. Uh, I'm a better artist than I am a pontificator. My oratory skills aren't quite as, I say, a Devin Nunes or Larry Elder or one of these guys that get on TV a lot. So I try to communicate as much as I can and as effective as I can through my art. This is on the same issue. Um, we have we have the media, and he says a white gunman killed 3 kids and 6 adults. And then somebody whispers in his ears, he was trans. And then the next day he says, he switches the narrative. Lack of gun laws killed 3 kids and 6 adults. So that pretty much says where the media is at with this. And it's unfortunate too, because a real media, a media that isn't trying to push a leftist Marxist corporate narrative, could delve into this and really figure this out, and they're not willing to. They want to make the shooter the victim, you the bad guy because you have guns in your safe, and basically to protect your family, you're the one that's caused all this. So anyway, I'm going to go back to the comments as much as possible here. Here we got. Wait, let's see. Let's scroll down. I kind of went down too far. Patricia Burdick, our country is so weak right now. Is the time other countries are taking advantage of us? Yes, true. John, whose name I can't pronounce real well. Sorry, John, again. I always had a concept of comedy in TV, a show called Saturday Night Right. Good one. We got Joe Brazai. You are a brilliant communicator through your art. Thank you. I appreciate it. Anyway, let's go on to the next cartoon. I won't take too much more of your time. We got okay. This one is about Minnesota, but it's kind of national. Minnesota State Refuge for Child Sex Mutilation. They consider themselves a refuge state for child sex mutilation or child sex, what do they call it, changes. You have Waltz over here. We're from the government. We're here to help. This is really concerning a lot of Americans about how they can try to change a child. They're not actually changing a child's sex, but that they can go in and mutilate a child in the name of keeping them from committing suicide. A lot of them, once they become adults, regret the surgeries. But a lot of it is motivated by, if you look over here, a big bag of money, big medical money. And some of these people, liberalism is just like a cult. They all jump on the bandwagon. They don't have any foresight as to what's going to happen to them later on, and eventually a lot of repercussions from their actions happen. But by then, they're on to something else. A lot of lives have been ruined, and you know the story. But that's the story behind the cartoon. This is happening nationwide, and we need to figure out a way to stop them and don't let them get away with it. This was a Texas cartoon I did for Dr. Hotze down in Texas about the same issue, sex changes and adhering to sexual mutilation, sexualizing children. We'll go on to the next one. A Time to Reap is this one. And you have this is supposed to be, I guess, hell. And you have Janet Yellen down here, and you have the devil snidely telling her that that eternity is transitory. That was my venting on that issue. Let's go to another one here. In case of emergency, break glass. Well, I think we are in an emergency right now. Since Trump left, everything has gone downhill. The economy, the border, foreign diplomacy, Russia invaded Ukraine. They're just fentanyl deaths. The people that are guiding Biden have absolutely no clue what they're doing whatsoever. And we're all getting the repercussions from what he's doing. So anyway, I think even they know they're in trouble. So they break the glass, they get out the Trump policies for dummies, border security, energy, economy. And then he, of course, I don't get it. And he has a little bubble up there, which signifies that he doesn't have really any thoughts. He just goes along with whatever his handlers tell him to do. Give him an ice cream cone. He's good. Let's go on to the next one. Of course, this is a big issue last week. Still is kind of percolating. You have DA Bragg trying to persecute Trump again. They're taking something that was supposedly a misdemeanor, wasn't even granted, and the what do you call it? The time allotted. I'm getting kind of clogged up here. The time allotted for this is passed. So anyway, you have a lot of problems in New York, and in his area, you have rising crime. You have murders that are up. You have violent assaults are up. You have robberies are up. Carjackings are up. You have smash and grabs, nursing home deaths. While no bail, you have no bail. You have defunded police, and of course, you have Bragg standing on a pile of Soros money, like a lot of these prosecutors that are destroying our blue cities. And he's holding a flag, which represents to me is a banana republic. And he says, look, Stormy Daniels hush money. Okay, we got that one. Let's go back. Let's just try to get these real quick. You have China and Russia coming together, and with somewhat of a military pact. They're along with Iran, of course. And he says, don't worry, pretty much. He's pretty busy right now. So, and what he's doing, he's juggling some of the other issues that he should be paying attention to, some of our issues overseas, but he's decided that he wants to focus more on equity, diversity, and inclusion and climate change, which again has nothing to do with making sure that the United States stays strong and viable in the world. And there's another Janet Yellen one. Based on, again, this is a cartoon that I had to get out there to vent a little bit about what she's been saying and what's actually happening with the economy. She looks at the banking crisis, the energy crisis, the inflation, and she says it's a mostly peaceful and stable financial crisis. Yeah, sure. Sure it is. Some of these you guys have probably seen these before. Here's another Minnesota one. I do a Minnesota cartoon once a week for Alpha News out of Minnesota. And this one, the schools need need money for lunches and breakfasts and that. And the attitude of Democrats in the legislature is, yes, there is a such thing as a free lunch and breakfast. And then you have the taxpayer, her hand in the taxpayer's pocket. Free? Question mark. Okay, St. Patrick's Day, and I'll probably end with this one. St. Patrick's Day, the rainbow, the the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, according to Biden, is the taxpayer and printing money, I guess you could say. And this is another one about Ukraine. Caution, quicksand for as long as it takes. So you got to be in the quicksand sinking for as long as it takes. And again, I don't think these people look at the long-term effect of their policies at all. I think they just jump into wherever they think that's going to add, bring about benefit to their party and to their power. So I always question Democrats when they do anything now because of what they did with COVID, what they've done to the economy. You just have to question it, and I do, and I try to put it out in my cartoons. Here's another China one. I'm very concerned about China. I don't think people understand. Not people. Most people don't understand what's going on with China. They're in everything. I've talked to people in Washington, D.C., friends of mine that are interactive in that environment constantly, and they're telling me they're in all the bureaucracies. They've paid off many of our politicians, and not just Democrats, Republican as well. Mitch McConnell is probably a good example of that. They're in our State Department. They have Confucius centers all over the United States in our universities, higher learning universities. They're coming across the border in droves. So I have to really question the fentanyl's part of that. COVID is all part of that. And I think we're sleeping. And I'm really worried about another Pearl Harbor in a sense, one that we can't survive. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer about it, but I think I for the love of me, I don't understand, for the life of me, I don't understand why some of our politicians in DC aren't more alarmed about what's going on there. And I know there's some are trying to, are shouting it from the clouds, but our mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, NPR, none of them are very concerned about it. And that troubles me. And I don't hear a lot about it from the sources that should be talking about it, at least be talking about it. So anyway, let me do one more here. Okay, that goes back to the woke bank fiasco. SVC or the SVB or whatever it was. I consider them to be a bank, woke bank of woke. Go woke or go broke. And you see the taxpayer walking away misgruntled because he knows he's going to have to pay for it some way. But anyway, I will get out of this and go back to some of the comments get to some of the comments here. Boy, we'll scroll down here a little ways. Thank you guys for being here, by the way. I plan on getting more versed on this and have a couple of guests and be able to do more homework on some of the issues, and we can discuss those. Darcy Wern, we love you. I love you guys too. I really appreciate being here and sharing my cartoons. Charlie Pilot, Biden is a buffoon. Yeah, he sure is. He sure is. Thank you, Herb F. Dave Knapp, thank you. He's from Oregon, I see it. We need to stop the abortion on demand, sick medical doctors that continue to carve up young individuals who lost their way. Mark, thanks. criminal up close visualizing what's going on here. Do I have to shut something off here? Did I? Maybe I forgot to shut off the. It's there. So anyway, Victor, lefty libs just want criminals and government to be armed and not the law-abiding citizens. Absolutely, absolutely. That has a lot to do with why every time a shooting happens, it's never about the criminal, mental health, drugs, any of that. It's always about your gun, and that we need to control your gun so that you can't protect yourself against Democrat policies. So anyway, see, we got Joe. You're a brilliant communicator through your art. Thank you. I think I read that one already. Anyway, that pretty much sums up what I've been talking about. I don't have a lot to say because you guys are pretty much as knowledgeable on the issues as I am. It's obvious. I do stay pretty current with things. I had a lot of questions about why aren't you on Fox News anymore? And I don't know if I spoke about this the last time I was on, but what happened was there was a cartoon out about George Soros, and I had him with puppet strings and going down to prosecutors that were letting criminals go and no bail and defund police, and in all these cities, crime is just getting out of hand. Well, you can track it all back to Soros prosecutors. And so I did a cartoon. Evidently, I didn't think about whether he was Jewish or not Jewish. I thought about him actually controlling and being responsible for this mess that's going on in our cities. So the ADL got a hold of Fox News and complained, so they pulled the cartoon off and took it down. And then they didn't stop using my cartoons completely, but they did bring in some other cartoonists, which I think is great. I do believe they should be able to. I think variety is a good thing, and if I owned Fox News and wanted to put cartoons up, I'd put a variety of cartoons up. I wouldn't just put one guy up. But that was probably that started the ball rolling on that. Anyway, if you have any questions about that, that's basically what happened. So um, let's read one more comment before I take off. No one hates Soros more than Jews. Well, I think that's probably true. I know a lot of Jews that hate him, so don't like him. Victor, my cousin again. I hope you can do every Wednesday because I'm going to encourage my friends to tune in. Thank you, Victor. I hope to get down there and play golf with you one day. That'd be awesome. He loves to golf. I'm not sure his wife likes the fact that he golfs, but see here a couple more. Maury. That's when Fox was still afraid of George Soros. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just, like I said, the cartoon had nothing to do with him being a Jew, but evidently you can't criticize liberals who are Jewish. You can criticize conservative Jews and liberals. Anyway, I think I've gone through it. It's their loss. Yeah. Well, I don't know. They're still putting my stuff up. If you go on there, they've changed it to more of a slideshow kind of display and taken down much of the way to comment. I think you can still comment through your phone, but they're still using my stuff quite a bit, but they're using other cartoonists, and I think that's great. There's some other good cartoonists that are on there. Jerry Varvel's on there. Once in a while, they use Ramirez, Bonk. Can't think of some of the names right offhand, but they're pretty good too. So Anyway, so if you have any ideas or anything like that, or any suggestions on what to do in the future as far as where focus is, I always like to hear comments. You can email me at afbranco@yahoo.com. Check out my website, Comically Incorrect. If you haven't had a chance to buy a book, this is about 3 years old, I think this book is, and Keep America Laughing. So the cartoons are a little bit not current, but I always try to put cartoons that work well and that people can enjoy, and have a longer shelf life, if you will. Anyway, I'm going to take off. I'm going to brush up on my speaking skills and brush up on the next one. I'll be more prepared. I didn't really prepare any kind of topics other than what was just off the top of my head. Don't have a teleprompter. And I want to thank David Potter for helping me out set this thing up today. And you there, David? There you are. There you are.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, David's a good producer. He hasn't got a lot to work with when he's dealing with me, but
You did great. It was great. I
Yeah.
put up some of your comments on screen so people could see the comments while you were reading them.
nice. Thank you. Yeah, I love the people that follow my stuff. Very loyal, and it's funny because we're on the same page on a lot of things. And
Yeah, passionate fans. They're great.
yeah, and a lot of the issues are very important that we talk about, and I like the ability to be able to illustrate some of those issues, because if you go on Fox, you go on Newsmax, you go on some of these other programs, they talk about the issues, but sometimes to have a tangible image kind
Right.
of helps, illustrate the problem a little bit deeper and give somebody to connect to it with the words. I'm not saying that talking about it or op-ed pieces are bad. I think they're great. In fact, I get a lot of my inspiration from it, but being
Your
able to
cartoons
connect
are
the
so
two.
important, right? I would say a picture's worth more than 1,000 words, maybe 10,000 with your cartoons.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I hope for, and I'm glad that people express their enjoyment for them, and it really helps me. It motivates me to continue doing it. So
Good deal.
keep those cards and letters coming, folks. Anyway, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks, David, and say goodbye to everybody.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Take care.